Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's October 30th, 2019, and I was just doing some work on an area of the property and where I was doing some damage, and that prompted me to think, you know what, I should make a video about this. And the reason I got Optimus Prime, my tractor with a front end loader behind me here, and Bumblebee, the mini excavator over there, is because I want to talk to you about equipment and the choice of equipment. Now, what I'm going to talk about has a lot to do with our position in a cold temperate climate. And what do I mean by that? Well, in our climate, we have a long winter with lots of snowfall. So pieces of heavy equipment, unless you're using it for snow removal, really is stagnant, sitting in storage during the winter months. And in the fall, this time of year is when we start getting all the rain, and it starts to saturate the soil, and especially if you're building lots of soil, it saturates down deep and all, and you can do a lot of ripping up of the soil as well as a result of the type of equipment that we're using. And in the spring, after the snow melts, all that water's saturated from the snow melt is saturated in the ground, and we get rains in the springtime as well. And farmers have a hard time getting into the fields, and some of the guys who get into the fields early get really bogged down as well. So as our homestead, as our permaculture demonstration site, and working around here, one of the things I was doing today, I took some one load of wood chips we had and put it over into an area where I had recently transplanted some trees. And as a result of the recent rains we've had, we haven't had a lot of rain, but we had enough that it really saturated down a couple of feet in our topsoil. And as a result, having Optimus Prime, and this Case 995 tractor that I've had, I think 39 years now. This tractor, I think, was built in 1974 or 76, so it's almost 45 years old. So the technology isn't as new as the new tractors out there. It's two-wheel drive, or actually one-wheel drive, and if you lock in the differential, both hind wheels will dig in at the same time. The type of tires on this tractor are what are called R1 tires, so they're the old-fashioned V-shaped, very aggressive tires that can really tear up turf quite a bit. There's calcium-filled tires in the rear. You really need to have weight. If you're going to have a front-end loader, you need to have the weight in the back of the tractor to put the center of gravity in an appropriate location so that you do have traction and you're not bounding and going all over the place. Well, one of the things with this tractor, since it's not a four-wheel drive tractor, or it's not a tracked vehicle, it has a tendency when it starts to sink in, especially if you've got a front-end load full of even just wood chips, which aren't that heavy, you can sink in and bury the tractor. And that's a hassle. You can get yourself out, especially if you got another piece of equipment, or you use a front-end loader to work your way out as well. But the main thing that I want to share with you is, here we are, we're planting trees. I've got some older established trees, lots of maples around here that are really wonderful trees that are part of our landscape. And whenever I sink into the soil and start spinning those wheels, or those wheels are going down and disrupting the roots of these trees, I'm doing damage to the trees around here. So it would be better if this tractor were four-wheel drive, and that way the distribution of the weight and the drivetrain could give us better traction, and therefore less of a chance of tearing into the soil and disrupting the roots. It's important to remember that with these trees, like these maple trees, 80% of the root mass for these, really significantly large trees is within the first 18 to 24 inches of soil. And when I'm going around there and working my way through, and these tires are digging in 2 feet deep into that soil, I'm just tearing up all those roots there. And it's not the roots that are closest to the trunk of the tree that are doing the bulk of the work. It's the ones that are out closer to the drip line, to where the canopy ends and beyond that. And I'm disrupting the microbiome, the soil structure, and certainly the soil microorganisms that are in that area as well. It'd be much better if I did less damage. So if I were to choose a tractor with a front end loader, and in this property with all the earthworks that we do, having a front end loader is really important. Even though we have a dump trailer and a mini excavator, having a front end loader is really super important here. So I would want a tractor that has a front end loader with 4-wheel drive as a minimum. What do I think would even be better than having the tractor with 4-wheel drive? A track loader, similar to a skid steer. Most people would call them Bobcat, but that's a brand. So a skid steer that has tracks instead of 4 tires. So the tracks give you that ability to do even less disruption of the soil, and you can float over soil more easily when it's really moist, similar to what the mini excavator can do. The mini excavator, because of the tracks there, although I can sink that in and I have gotten it stuck, that tends to walk over the surface. After this tractor's been in and done some destruction, tearing up the soil, I can go in with a mini excavator and use the bucket and fill in the voids, smooth it all out and all. But it's best if I don't do the damage initially. So 2-wheel drive tractors, when the ground is wet, is asking for trouble, and you could get stuck at a minimum, or even worse, you could do damage to the trees in your forest that you're establishing. And that's a big part of what we're doing here. So I did shoot a little bit of footage looking down at the ground level and seeing all the roots I damaged in one of the trees, and you could see some of the track marks where I tried to go in with a load of wood chips into an area where I had transplanted some trees to fill in, to mulch around the area and bring the level up, the slope up, like a recent video I talked about. Sorry about the noise there. My neighbor's going by giving his beak cattle some hay. So first upgrade from here would be using a 4-wheel drive tractor. And certainly if there's interest, I can always talk about other things that I would opt for with a tractor as well. There's certainly benefits to having subcompact tractors for those really tight spots and all, but I won't get into that at this time. So 4-wheel drive would be the minimum of what I would want to start off with if I were starting over this day and age with a tractor. On this particular property, because I have so much earthworks to do, rather than having a 4-wheel drive tractor, I'd rather have a track loader. Similar to a skid steer with tires, but it just has tracks instead. And there are some really good ones out there at this time. And with the skid steer attachments, you can put grapplers on it. You can put post hole diggers on it. Geez, they've even got some with excavator attachments that hook onto it. You can have front end mulching systems. You can have road conditioning attachments for it. There's really a whole variety of different attachments that can go on to the front of a track loader or skid steer. And certainly a set of forks would come in real handy around here as well with moving materials around. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you. Bumblebee, the mini excavator, has been an absolute delight. It works in concert with the front end loader. The front end loader, it can be a challenge to get a full bucket at a time, and therefore having the mini excavator, when I'm digging out an area, I can actually turn that around and help assist loading, filling up the bucket without breaking traction with the tires on the tractor trying to get a full bucket. The mini excavator is used for many other functions around here, certainly with the tree transplants, excavating, putting in water lines, putting in foundations, all sorts of things as well. But the thing I really wanted to share with you today, since I was just up there damaging some of the trees, and remember, 80% of the root mass is an area that needs to get atmospheric, get oxygen and nitrogen from the atmosphere. Therefore, most of the roots are within the 18 to 24 inches, where they aren't getting saturated, totally saturated by the water as well. So if you have any more comments or questions about this topic, please leave them below. It's a very interesting area for those of us who are interested in purchasing pieces of equipment to help assist us in the jobs we have around our property. And this also goes for renting equipment as well. So if you thought this video was of value, please give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Leave any comments or questions below. And by all means, folks, have a great day. Bye-bye now.